I'm pretty sure I was a DEI hire, and then I was also fired. Let me tell you about it. Hello, good people. It is Todd Shannon, data scientist, social commentator, getter of buckets, and this is Todd Thinks. I want to tell you about the one time that I'm pretty sure I was a DEI hire. This is interesting because I have been doing a couple videos about DEI. DEI is on the retreat, and this is a good thing. I've made this very clear. But I thought about something that I hadn't thought about before. I kind of started to put two and two together. You know how sometimes you get to thinking and you're just like, wait a second, carry the four. Yeah, that was kind of weird. That thing that happened to me, that was kind of weird. And so in retrospect, I'm pretty sure that around or about 2019, I was a DEI hire, and it did not go well. So let me just set this up for you. Around 2017 or abouts, I went and got my certification for data science. I always had a financial services background, financial services degree, and I always did kind of these sales roles, kind of these quasi sales roles, primarily in financial services. But I had said, you know what, I'm kind of done with that. I don't want to do that anymore. And I discovered data science, best decision of my life. So I get certified and I get a job in 2017. And then I have an opportunity to go work for this sports video company. And as a pro, not as a pro, as a former collegiate athlete, I wish I was a pro. I thought, hey, this would be an interesting opportunity to go do something sports related. I can use my skills as a data scientist or what have you, and kind of see where that takes me. Well, they only had roles available for a data analyst, right? And I'll explain the difference between a data analyst and a data scientist in a moment. But for me, just the opportunity to work for this kind of company was even though it wasn't exactly data science, which is what I was already doing, I said, this is a great opportunity. I have to check this out. The difference between a data analyst and a data scientist is this. A data analyst does a lot of what we call building data models. So data models are basically things that are consumed. The data part of it is being able to answer basic questions like, who are our customers? What did they buy? When did they buy it? What different products did they buy? Data analysts will focus on that kind of high level information. And then a data scientist will take that information and they'll try to use it to predict certain outcomes, like saying, well, which kind of customer or which segment of the market is more likely to buy product X, and try to build a predictive model so that you can do some more targeted marketing and things of that sort. So I was equipped as a data scientist, but they needed a data analyst. And so when you have to do a lot of data analyst work, you work in databases and writing what's called SQL or SQL. All of this is going to become relevant here. Don't let your eyes glaze over. I have to explain this so that I can explain to you why I think I was a DEI hire. Basically, I had no SQL skills. I had almost none. I knew the very basic, select star from table. That's the most simplest thing. I didn't know how to write SQL, but that's primarily what the job was about. That's probably the primary skill that it required, that you write a lot of SQL. So you can see where this became a problem. I didn't think anything of it because I was, even though I couldn't write SQL, I could write in other programming languages, which is common for data scientists to use. And if you know anything about data science, there's two primary languages that are used. It's something called R, the letter R, and another one called Python. And I was proficient in R and, semi-proficient in Python, but still even not as good there. But when they gave me this take-home project, I basically did all the data analysis in R, which for them should have been the first red flag. It's this guy didn't do any SQL. That should have been a red flag for them. And then they had this guy that was on their team who actually was doing some data science. He was doing predictive modeling, and he did his programming in R, right? So you can see they were like, well, hey, we got this guy. Let's call him Mike. Mike's not his real name. But they said Mike is also an R programmer. And I kind of interacted with Mike. And when I got hired, they kind of teamed me up with Mike. And I was thinking, well, maybe they want me to do kind of a hybrid thing. Maybe they want me to do some things with Mike, helping him with some predictive modeling, and then also doing a little bit of that analyst work. And so it was all, that was kind of, I got hired under the understanding that what I was going to be doing is actually very different from what they wanted me to do. So keep that in mind. About 2 months or so into my role, they put me on a performance improvement plan. Now, this was kind of bizarre to me because I'm just like, wait a second, I just started. Like, why are you putting me on a performance improvement plan? And, I really couldn't articulate that. It really bugged me. And then I decided, okay, well, whatever. I'm just going to go with it. And my manager actually wasn't involved in my hiring at all. She was on maternity leave during the whole interview process. And then when she came back, I thought, there I was, right? And something interesting actually happened when I was there. We were doing this like quarterly meeting. We have these quarterly meetings, these huddles, whatever you want to call them. And they actually announced, something that made a whole lot of sense to me. They said, anyone, so they talked about like performance reviews and stuff like that. And they said, well, anyone who has less than, X tenure on the job cannot be put on a performance improvement plan. And it made 100% sense to me because I said, well, how do you tell if someone's performance need to improve or if they are just new to the job and need to get acclimated? And for me, even though I didn't know SQL, which I told you in the beginning, I was actually, because I had the technical skills, I was learning it quite quickly, but I think not quite quickly enough for them. But that was, like I said, that was kind of their fault, right? If they really needed someone who already had that sort of skill, then they should have hired someone that had that sort of skill. So the lady that hired me, who was the boss of my eventual boss who came back from maternity leave, she was a little Asian lady from California who went to Stanford. Okay, now I just got to say, everyone knows that those are like the peak conditions to produce wokeness. Okay, so I don't know what this lady's politics were, and obviously we never talked about that or anything. But if anybody was going to be woke during that time, it would have been some Asian lady or some lady just in general from California who went to Stanford. I mean, that's like, wokeness at the elite institutions is at the ultimate levels, right? The other thing that was pretty evident was that there's no black males in the role that I had. Like, basically, black males were just not a thing that you ran into very often. And if there was a black male in that role, he was not likely someone who was American. He would likely be someone from Africa, like Nigeria or something like that. So occasionally we get some people who come from over the water, coming over here for these technical roles. But basically, I could see how I would check a very important DEI box. There were almost no black people in general in my role or in the company, and certainly no black males. So that was, another thing that tipped me off that maybe I was a DEI hire. And this is the thing about being a DEI hire, is that you never actually know whether or not you're a DEI hire. They're not going to tell you, hey, we're hiring you for DEI purposes. They're never going to say that. One is because although liberals love to extol the virtues of DEI. Like my man Delano Squire says, it's a benefit that everyone likes to tout, but no one likes to claim, right? No one wants to, if you say someone is a DEI hire, then they take it as an insult. But then if you say, well, DEI is going away, then they say you're racist because you're not promoting, diversity, equity, and inclusion. Well, which one is it? You can't say that you want DEI, and then when someone is pointed out as a DEI hire, you take it as an insult. So you got to choose one. So that was the thing that made me think that I was a DEI hire. And this is the problem, again, with DEI. For all of their intent, I don't believe for a second that they thought they were being racist or doing any harm to me at all. But I ended up leaving a role that maybe I could have grown a little bit more deeper and skilled in to take on a job that I ended up getting fired for, and that could have set me back career-wise. I think it was only through God's grace. The way it ended up working out is that just a few months later, I got a job paying me almost double what I was making there, and because I had learned SQL, because I had written so much SQL in that last role, that was actually a part of their technical test, and I totally crushed it because of that role. So it ended up working out well for me. Hey, Romans 8:28, all things work together for good for those that love him. So it ended up working out well for me. But that's not the case for everyone. What we see in many, many situations, people like Thomas Sowell, even Malcolm Gladwell have pointed this out, is that oftentimes when, particularly in college, for example, whenever people get admitted into colleges that they aren't quite qualified for DEI purposes, that has a very negative impact on whether or not some of these people end up dropping out, or they end up getting these kind of general degrees that don't really have a lot of value in the marketplace. And so for me, it ended up working out well, but it often does not. And this is the problem with DEI, is that despite all of these good intentions, oftentimes it ends up hurting people. I mean, it could have been a situation, and just like I said, it was just the grace of God. I ended up going back to the company that I actually used to work for many years. I left on good terms, and I already understood the business, and now I had this new skill set, and I still knew many people that worked in that situation or that worked for that company. And so I was able to get back there in a role that was very, very amenable to my skill set and also the prerequisite knowledge that I had of the business and of the industry. So it worked out well for me. But there again, that's not always the case. So I say I was a DEI hire. Again, they never said I was a DEI hire because no one ever says you're a DEI hire. But the fact that they ended up firing me because they made a poor hiring decision is exactly the reason why things like DEI and all of these, supposedly good reasons why they want to have the program in place, it's why they should go away, because they could have avoided that situation for me. And they had no idea that it would have worked out well for me like it did. So I'm just a fan of merit. But that's my DEI story. Do you buy it? Do you think that sounds about right? Or do you think, hey, it just happens to be what it is? I'm interested to hear your thoughts. Let me know in the comments. Until next time, friends, God bless you.